A tree standing alone in a field seems like a solitary, silent witness. But trees, scientists are discovering, may have a form of memory. When a tree is repeatedly attacked by hungry insects, it doesn't just defend itself in the moment, it can change its very chemistry and physiology, and crucially, it remembers the attack. The next growing season, that tree will preemptively produce higher levels of defensive chemicals, even if no insects are present. It's as if the experience left a mark on the tree's biological system, priming it for future challenges. This isn't memory as we know it, but a chemical record of the past influencing the present. It suggests that resilience can be learned and embedded in the very fabric of life, a quiet wisdom written not in neurons but in sap and leaf. Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth, is still growing. Every year, the peak rises about 4 millimeters higher. This happens because 50 million years ago, the Indian subcontinent crashed into Asia in slow motion, a collision that's still happening today. Deep beneath the Himalayas, massive tectonic plates continue pushing against each other with tremendous force. The pressure doesn't just hold the mountains in place, it actively lifts them higher, inch by inch, century by century. At the same time, erosion from wind, ice, and weather tears the mountain down. It's a constant battle between creation and destruction, and right now, creation is winning. What seems like the most permanent, unchanging thing on Earth is actually in constant motion. The tallest peak isn't finished, it's still becoming. It reminds us that even the mightiest things we know are not fixed, but always transforming, always reaching higher, shaped by forces far greater and older than we can fully imagine. We imagine planets as either fiery worlds or frozen wastelands, but astronomers have discovered a type of planet that is both at once. Hot ice giants, like the exoplanet Gliese 436b, defy our simple categories. This Neptune-sized world orbits so close to its star that its surface temperature is scorching, around 440 degrees Celsius. Yet, the immense gravitational pressure of its atmosphere crushes water vapor into an exotic, solid form, a kind of super-dense hot ice known as Ice X or superionic ice, where water molecules are torn apart and oxygen atoms form a crystalline lattice while hydrogen ions flow through it like a metal. So, it's a world where water exists as a solid burning rock. This reveals that the physics of matter under extreme conditions can create substances and worlds stranger than any fiction, expanding our understanding of what is possible in the cosmos. If someone asked you to name the tallest mountain on Earth, you'd likely say Mount Everest, and you'd be right, but only if we measure from sea level. Imagine a mountain so massive that its peak is the furthest point from the center of the Earth. This mountain exists, and it's not Everest. It's Mount Chimborazo, a dormant volcano in Ecuador. Because our planet is not a perfect sphere but bulges at the equator, Chimborazo, sitting right on that bulge, gains a hidden advantage. From its base to its summit, it's shorter than Everest, but its peak soars over 2,000 meters farther into space than Everest's peak when measured from the Earth's core. Our maps and measurements shape how we see the world, but they can also hide a more three-dimensional truth. So the summit of Chimborazo is technically the closest point on land to the stars. Maps and borders feel permanent, but sometimes a place can exist in a legal limbo so perfect it officially vanishes. Between the borders of Egypt and Sudan lies a patch of desert called Bir Tawil. It is about 800 square miles of land that belongs to no country. Due to a historical quirk in border treaties from 1899 and 1902, both nations claim a different, more valuable neighboring area, and to claim that, each must disclaim ownership of Bir Tawil. So, by steadfastly refusing it, both countries have left it as the last truly terra nullius, no man's land, on Earth. It is a place you can visit, but you cannot be a citizen of, governed only by the emptiness of the desert. It stands as a fascinating artifact of human diplomacy, proving that sometimes the most contested thing can become the most ignored, simply by accident. In the scorched forests of Australia and South Africa, there is a plant that doesn't just survive wildfires, it actually waits for them with a calculated patience that seems almost sentient. The fire lily remains dormant and invisible underground for years, sometimes decades, showing no leaves or flowers while other plants dominate the landscape. The moment a wildfire sweeps through and turns the forest to ash, the chemical signals in the smoke act as a biological alarm clock, triggering the lily to bloom within just a few days. While the rest of the world is charred and gray, these vibrant red flowers explode into life, taking advantage of the fresh nutrients in the ash and the lack of competition for sunlight. It is a stunning example of how life can find opportunity in destruction, proving that sometimes the greatest beauty is reserved for those who can wait for the fire to clear the way. In a dry forest, a single tree can become its own weather system. The tall, elegant eucalyptus trees of Australia do something extraordinary. They make it rain under their own canopies on clear, sunny days. This stem flow or dew drip happens because the trees are drawing up vast amounts of water from deep underground through their roots. They release much of this water vapor into the air through their leaves, but on cool, still mornings, the vapor can condense directly on the leaves and branches. So much condenses that it drips down steadily, creating a localized, gentle rain shower that waters the ground beneath it. A personal microclimate. It's a beautiful loop of self-sufficiency, showing how life can engineer its own environment, creating pockets of abundance even in harsh conditions. If you have a bent metal fork, your first thought isn't to sing to it. But in the world of material science, sound can perform what seems like magic. Certain metals, like tin, have what is called a cry. When you bend a bar of pure tin, it emits a distinctive screeching sound, and if you take that same bent bar and play that exact screeching note back to it using a loudspeaker, something incredible happens. The metal slowly straightens itself out. This is due to a phenomenon called acoustic softening, where specific sound vibrations provide just the right energy to allow the dislocated atoms inside the bent metal to slide back into their proper places. It's a perfect demonstration that matter responds to energy in precise and beautiful ways. The universe, it seems, has a hidden tuning, and sometimes the right note can restore order from chaos. We have 5 basic tastes: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami, but our tongues can sense something else entirely, a sensation that isn't a taste at all, but feels like one. If you've ever licked a 9-volt battery, you've experienced it, a sharp metallic spark. This isn't you tasting the metal of the battery. It's your taste buds detecting an electric current. The small voltage activates the same nerve signals that normally fire in response to sour or salty flavors, tricking your brain into interpreting electricity as a taste. It's a direct, startling interface between our biological senses and the physical world of energy. This curious fact shows that our perception is just a constructed model of reality, and sometimes the wires of our senses can get crossed in illuminating ways. On August 27, 1896, a war broke out between Britain and Zanzibar that lasted exactly 38 minutes. The Sultan of Zanzibar had died, and his nephew seized power without British approval, violating a treaty. Britain issued an ultimatum: step down by 9 o'clock in the morning or face attack. The new Sultan refused. At precisely 9:02, British warships in the harbor opened fire on the wooden palace. The Sultan's forces had an old cannon, a wooden ship, and a few hundred poorly armed defenders. The British had modern artillery and superior firepower. By 9:40, the palace was in ruins, the Sultan had fled to the German embassy, and the war was over. Around 500 Zanzibari soldiers and civilians were killed or wounded. The British suffered one injury. It remains the shortest war ever recorded. It wasn't a fair fight. It was a demonstration of imperial power. What history remembers as the briefest war was also a moment of devastating inequality, a reminder that the length of a conflict says nothing about its cost, and that behind every strange record lies a human story far more complicated than the numbers suggest. There's a white oak tree in Athens, Georgia, that legally owns itself and the land around it. In the early 1800s, a professor named William Jackson loved this tree so much that he deeded ownership of the tree and 8 feet of land surrounding it to the tree itself. The original deed has been lost to time, but the town has honored this unusual arrangement for over 2 centuries. When the original tree fell in 1942, the townspeople grew a new oak from one of its acorns in the exact same spot. Today, the son of the tree that owns itself stands as a living reminder that sometimes the most meaningful acts of preservation come not from laws or money, but from genuine love for the natural world. It teaches us that ownership isn't always about control. Sometimes it's about recognizing that some things are so precious, they deserve to belong only to themselves. We think of spring as a season full of birdsong, but there is a haunting sound that marks its arrival in a way you cannot hear. It's the sound of melting glaciers. Using highly sensitive seismometers, scientists listen to glaciers as they melt, and they've discovered something unexpected. The ice sings. As meltwater carves through tunnels and cracks within the glacier, the entire mass vibrates like a giant, slow musical instrument. The pitch and intensity of this infrasound, far too low for human ears, change with the temperature and the rate of melting. It's a direct, real-time symphony of climate change, a deep groaning song of transformation. This means the Earth is constantly speaking of its changes in frequencies beyond our perception, and by learning to listen, we can hear the story of our planet's transformation in a profound new way. We see a forest as a collection of individual trees, silent and separate. But beneath your feet, there is conversation. A vast hidden network connects the roots of trees through fungal threads, so intricate it has earned the name the Wood Wide Web. Through this network, trees do something astonishing. They communicate. A tree under attack by insects can send chemical warnings through this fungal internet to its neighbors, who then boost their own defenses. Mother trees can even send nutrients to their own seedlings struggling in the shade, helping them survive. This turns the idea of a forest on its head. It is not a crowd of competitors, but a cooperative community. The oldest, largest trees are not just survivors. They are central hubs nurturing the forest's future. It reveals that some of the most important support systems in life are the ones we never see, quietly holding the world together. In 2006, scientists discovered a clam off the coast of Iceland that was born in 1499. That means it was already alive when Leonardo da Vinci was painting the Mona Lisa, when Columbus reached the Americas, and when the printing press was still a new invention. The clam, called Ming because it was born during China's Ming dynasty, lived on the ocean floor for 507 years. Scientists only discovered its age after opening its shell and counting the growth rings, much like counting tree rings. Sadly, the process of measuring killed it. But Ming wasn't unique. Ocean quahogs regularly live for centuries, growing incredibly slowly in the cold waters of the North Atlantic. Their slow metabolism, cold environment, and efficient cellular repair systems allow them to resist aging far longer than almost any other animal. While we search for the secrets of longevity in laboratories, this clam was quietly living through half a millennium at the bottom of the sea. It teaches us that the longest lives are often lived in silence, far from attention, and that survival isn't about speed or complexity, but about patience, efficiency, and the wisdom of living slowly.